Welcome back to another fantastic episode of I'm Going to Talk and You're Going to Listen. This is what I can only loosely describe as episode 102. Man, I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start by thanking all my engagement buddies. CDK, appreciate you. CDK says episode 101, crazy. It is crazy, and I still can't even process how we got here, or if we've even accomplished anything, or if this is just one giant coping mechanism. But one or two people keep coming back to listen to it every week, so I guess we're doing something. Love and Life says, good words, thumbs up. Thanks, Love and Life. Everybody, if you haven't checked out Love and Life 3121's channel, I was on there back on Monday and we had an hour-long interview thing. I think those interview episodes are a lot of fun. I've only done 2 now, but with Vision being the other one. But those interviews are a lot of fun. They really make me think, and I think it's also interesting to see what other people latch on to. When we talked about crypto and AI, I really like that because I think those are, besides batteries and solar, I think crypto and AI are like things that people really need to take into consideration. And I get sick and tired of everybody's excuses. Well, if the grid goes down, well, if people would just, I don't know, pay attention, they would know that this entire next generation of cell phones is going to be able to talk to satellites, which means short of 4 to 6, massive nukes going off, the satellites are going to be there, and there will be a cell grid, which means you'll be able to still do crypto. So I'm glad we got to talk about that. I'm sick and tired of people's just dismissive, condescending excuses on technology. AI is not going anywhere. Virtual SIM cards on phones aren't going anywhere. Digital currency is not going anywhere. That passed. Crypto's still going up by Bitcoin. Like, just side note before I go on and thank the rest of my buddies. Technology has evolved an insane amount in just the last 30-ish years. We went to 286, 386, 486, Pentium. We went from like 386s to Pentiums in just like a couple years. Pentiums were just absolutely insane, and then we went to 233 megahertz, 400, ish megahertz. It stagnated for a while, and then they started just throwing multiple chips on cores and making them faster and faster and faster. The amount our technology, we're down to like 3 nanometer now ish, somewhere between like 3 to 10, 12 nanometer, depending on the random luck of the silicone lottery, as they call it. And we're right on the edge of just like the technological barrier just exploding in ways that people can't even imagine. And you still have people going, I don't like AI is creepy. Alexa, I saw this again. Alexa is creepy. What? AI is creepy. Crypto's creepy. Like, get the fuck over it. I get, a snake, a snake in the grass. Our instincts tell us, stay away from that snake in the grass, or I think there's a spider in my hair. Or, I should go to the doctor about this itch that I have. But like, technology is something that you can understand, and then you can forecast where it's going to go. Marv has been talking about this again for days. So is Vision, so is everybody. Like, listen up. When every single freaking YouTuber is talking about, that you trust, is talking about the same damn thing, it is not because clickbait or engagement bait or anything, because all of us are too small to care about that. None of us are making a living off this. We're not making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars spewing the popular thing. None of us are making money off this. We're all saying this because we're all in the same vein. We're all in the same lane, on the same train, on the same plane. Feeling the same pain. So, like, pay the fuck attention. I get really, really sick of that. And then, who could have seen this happen? I just don't know. Well, the crypto thing, Orange Man, passed the crypto thing. Let me check. Did I keep it on my? Yeah. Hold on. I keep status update, please, Mr. Grok. So I have a Grok thread specifically for the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Anti-CBDC Act. I have a thread on my Grok for that. And I can just re-ask it to just give me a status update every couple days, because people keep asking me. And so it says, as of July 26, 2025, the Genius Act, stablecoin regulation, signed into law by T-Man on the 18th. Like, the Genius Act, stablecoin regulation, that's in. It is now in effect. There is going to be a federal framework for stablecoins, requiring issues to back tokens with liquid access and disclose reserves monthly. That happened. That happened 8 days ago. Okay? Crypto's creepy. I refuse to learn. Well, you should probably fucking learn now, because that shit's for real. That happened. The Clarity Act, which is the crypto market structure, passed the House on the 17th. So it still says Senate's drafting its own version, targeting completion by September 30th. So that's still waiting a Senate vote. And what that's going to do is, I think, stop taxing the living shit out of everybody on little bits of crypto moving around. Thank God. That was ridiculous. And then the think about that for those of you, like, buying and selling things on eBay, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. Sending a couple $100 to a family member, here and there, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. That Crypto Act is just the same thing, the Clarity Act, except a little more technical. And then the Anti-CBDC Act passed the House on the 17th, and that's attached to the National Defense Authorization Act. That's awaiting Senate. I think that one's going to take a while. I'm surprised that one. I'm not surprised. The fact that that's 219 to 210 just tells you how many globalists are in our ranks. There should be no way that we should have the central bank digital currency here. That's insane. So maybe it's time to start paying attention. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm glad we got to talk about that a little bit on Love and Life's channel. I think gold and silver have their place, but if you're not in a state that recognizes gold and silver as a currency, you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money, period. Silver is fun, but the federal government, your local government, can just make those currencies illegal. Cash is king. Cash is going to be irrelevant. Cash is already irrelevant in a lot of places. You need to be planning for what a future looks like when the ATMs are down. People are destroying ATM machines. People are stealing excavators and stealing ATMs left and right. They'll run out of ATM parts. You think I'm joking? It happened where I lived. 20 plus ATM machines got destroyed, annihilated during the Rona. They ran out of ATM parts. We didn't have ATMs in the city. Cash is king. Cash is king. Like, there were no ATM machines. How are you supposed to, like, you could have your own cash, okay. But what happens when, like, to deposit the money into your bank account, there's no banks left because they've all closed, and now you've got to put your cash into an ATM to turn it into your digital currency, unless you have some kind of fence, you know, some kind of middleman. Like, you're not converting that cash into a digital currency. It's going to be illegal to accept cash, and cash is going to be, if cash is already worthless. I'm sure a lot of you are like, cash is already worthless. Yeah, I know. You know, is saving up silver quarters fun? Yeah, I have some. It's fun. I won't ever be able to do anything with it. But I mean, they're fun to have. Just to pretend like, you know, I would have enough of them to buy a Snickers bar when the shit hits the fan, if anyone took it. Well, there'll be a black market. Not really. I mean, those black, I had friends in Venezuela. Those black markets don't work how you think they do. Sooner or later, somebody has to go stand in line at the last working bank for hours and hours and hours to exchange that currency. Anyway, I digress. Berio says, I believe the utmost caution needs to be taken with AI. You may be rebuilding a tractor. The next thing you know, you have a Decepticon. So I'll give you guys a little status. Yes, first of all. Second of all, I am working with an AI to see if it'll work. Having it help me rebuild something, secret project. And if I've got my numbers right, it has gotten three of the four steps wrong. Now. So we're on step number 4. It has got 3 of the 4 steps wrong. And on the last step, when I called it off, or when I called it on its BS, which by the way, it wiped when it freaked out and had a meltdown yesterday, it wiped that out of the history. Not only is there no history of it freaking out yesterday, I have screenshots of it freaking out. But when it had its freak out, it actually seemed to have lost information and actually reverted. And so it went back a couple steps and had actually forgot some of what we talked about, despite me keeping it in its own thread. So every time Musk talks about how awesome Grok is, he's either full of shit or he's on a completely different version of Grok. I will say unequivocally that AI is years and years and years away from even remotely slightly being able to do what people are scared it'll do. We're in that sweet spot right now, like we are with crypto and video cards and a couple other things, sort of. I mean, they're gonna how do I explain this to you? Most of you are familiar with, like, you know, how AirPods, AirTags work. I mean, like, pretty soon, like, video cards are going to be kind of AirTagged, sort of, kind of like that, which they've tried to do with CPUs in the past, too, to where they'll be able to track every single video card on the planet. They're going to be treating video cards. Why is a video card? It has the word video and the word card. Why is that so important? Because the new video cards now, also known as GPUs, are effectively more powerful than the entire rest of the computer combined. So computers now, sort of like when there was math coprocessors back in the 90s, the video card is actually like the GPU, is actually faster almost than like the entire rest of your computer combined. by a very large magnitude. Those are going to be like controllable national. I'm running out of ways of explaining this in ways that I think people will understand. So, if any of you are familiar with military stuff, there's this thing called ITAR, and it's why all of our military stuff can't leave the U.S. Unless somebody decides to sell it, because that's bullshit. But whatever, they're supposed to be our allies. That's the only thing we export right now, and then it disappears. But we can't have it. But let's leave it in Afghanistan and Ukraine. Anyway, video cards, GPUs are going to be one of those controlled items, like gold and silver and catalytic converters and ARs. Like, they are going to be deeming video cards like too dangerous for people to have. You know, your computers are going to be on subscription services, and they're only going to allow you. You only need, as a private individual, to have this many CPU cycles and GPU cycles a day. Like, computers have become too powerful, just like ARs and catalytic converters, and you know, it's going to be the same with solar and batteries. You won't be able to have a microgrid. You don't have anything to hide, do you? Why do you have a microgrid? You don't have anything to hide, do you? It's going to be the same thing with computers. You know, for your own safety, you know, you can't have your own hard drives anymore. Your hard drives have to be on a server where we can scan them for your safety. You know, you can't have your own crypto in your own wallets because we have to keep your crypto safe, even though they can't keep money safe now. So we're in that sweet spot where we can still sort of kind of own things-ish in some places. You can't buy new ARs here, but they're still finding, you know, millions of dollars of stashed catalytic converters. And I think I have a really sneaking suspicion that this is going to be the last generation of video cards that people are really going to be able to buy. And I think we're getting into that realm with cell phones too. Like, cell phones and video cards are going to just, basically, they're going to become prohibitively expensive. And then you're going to have to lease them, and the entire thing is going to have to be on the cloud. And because people are going to use the argument, oh, well, I can just leave my cell phone at home. I'm so smart. I'm so clever. I can just leave my... No, you won't be able to. Because that cell phone's going to be your ATM. That cell phone is going to be your car insurance. That cell phone is going to be your ID. That cell phone is going to be your wallet. Well, I just can't afford it. Don't worry, they'll give you one for free. Believe it. And everything on there is going to be on the cloud, and it's going to go up to satellites. They're going to track you. I can just leave it at home. No, because you can't drive without car insurance. They're going to see a car go by. They're going to see that it doesn't have a ping. You're going to get pulled over, and you're going to get swaddle-doodled. Okay? Like, we are one hardware generation away from all of that happening. And all you can say is, crypto's weird. I can just leave my phone at home. All these bullshit cutesy little fucking excusing one-liners. I'm already retired. I can just do Uber. No, because it's going to be robo-taxis doing everything. And by the way, you're not going to be able to own a robo-taxi to have it work for you. Okay? All that shit is going to be done by ever-increasing, ever-expanding, globo-homo, corporatization, and the government merged. This isn't capitalism. This is massive corptocracy at the highest level. This is the government and the corporations merged together, owning everything. and you are the product, which means they will happily give everything to you for free because it won't matter anymore. You'll be on their currency with their phone on their satellites. Okay? They can shut your crypto off whenever they want. They can ratchet your money back if your social credit score sucks. And there was somebody I saw this. They're like, well, they said credit card score, but I think they meant social credit. My social credit score is perfect, so I just don't care about that. Someone actually said that in chat. Oh, I wanted to just rip into them. I wanted to say, listen, if you have an amazing social credit score, your job is going to be to help other people that have shitty social credit scores. That's going to be your job. If we all want to get through this somehow, right? Sort of how the illegals are already exploiting food cards and have been for a long time. They trade their food cards around like currency and other things. So anyway, moving on. Virio says, super cool hearing from pairs. Yes, episode 100 was a banger. I'm glad we were able to make that work. I'm glad everyone liked that. Negative Death Space was talking about the door kicking prank thing, kids getting shot. Yeah, I thought that was a joke. I thought everybody was joking about that, but it actually looks like it already did happen. And if you watch the videos closely, what the kids are doing with their prank, in air quotes, and I don't understand this at all, except to say that this is just them planning for home invasions, is they're kicking on the door, and then they're pretending to shoot they're shooting the door with airsoft, which doesn't even do anything. So, and people already use airsoft for practice, so I can only imagine that part of the prank, wink wink, is to make people think that they're actually being invaded by people with real guns, and then they're practicing for when they get real guns, they can do the home invasion, and they'll already be used to kicking the door, shooting the doorknob, kicking the door in, and room clearing. And I saw this back in our old subdivision, the little illegals running around. They were like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they were practicing CQB around the vehicles with toy guns, pretending they were in Call of Duty or something. I don't know, playing Cops and Cartels or whatever it is that the illegal kids play. And I was like, oh, that's not going to be good. When 6, 7, and 8-year-olds are training more than you're going to have a huge problem on your hands. And now those kids have grown up, and now the kids just a little bit older than them have grown up. And, we're going to have a huge problem on our hands. And people say, video games. I don't think so. I think in times like this, the culture shifts. I mean, when I was a kid, there was toy guns on the shelves, and then there was the big pussification for a long time, and now here we are, we've come full circle again. I personally think that, by and large, airsoft is still an astronomical waste of time. I think there's a couple lessons that can be learned. But I think in an ideal world, we would just be training with simunition. Because I think airsoft teaches a lot of bad habits. You can hide behind things that you cannot actually hide behind. Anyway, so I think that the door kicking challenge is, I think it's named wrong. I think it should be called mock home invasions. I think the knockout game should be called They're Trying to Kill People in One Punch. And I think that street sideshows should be called, illegal vehicle subdivision, intersection lockdowns. Call them what they really are. But people say, oh, that's fear mongering. I don't think so. Someone in the city died a couple days ago in one punch. This guy, unprovoked, out of nowhere, walked up behind this guy, punched him in the back of the head. He must have he must have full sent it. Then the guy was unconscious. Hit the concrete at full speed. He was dead. That's the knockout game. Okay, period. They punch you. They full send punch you as hard as they can. They sucker punch you. They're angles that you can't see, and your brain short circuits just long enough for you to hit the ground. And you hit the ground at full speed, and you could crack your skull open, or just be completely dead. That's if they don't just stomp you dead. People don't like it when you talk about this. This is the reality. This is reality now. So they say maintain situational awareness. Okay, then what? You don't have eyes in the back of your head. You can't always go put your back against something and have all little angles of seeing reflections in every direction. And then what? Okay, so you see this guy coming at you. Okay. Oh, well, I'd shoot him. Okay. What if you work at a job with metal detectors? You can't have a gun on you. And then, well, they should put it in a lockbox when you get there. Yeah, but a lot of them won't now. Okay. You can use pepper spray. A, you can't really deploy pepper spray that fast unless it's already in your hand. B, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to blow back in your face. You're going to tase them. Tasers don't fucking work half the time. What are you going to do? CQB them hand to hand? You're going to pull out your fucking knife and Winter Soldier them or something? Give me a fucking break. You have to have distance. You have to have a group. You all have to be armed and trained with one in the chamber. And that's the only way to go anywhere. And so what if you're a gal? How is the gal supposed to fight, a messed up fucking homeless zombie? She can't. Well, if she just maintained situational awareness. This was in the morning when everyone's supposed to be going to work. Just be in a crowd. They were on a bus. They were on a train platform. Anyway. I'm furious at the excuses people are making. And then they go, well, just contextually in the city. Things are just like that in the city. You're just gonna die. There's just a random statistical chance you're going to die. They're not targeting you, so don't worry, you're not being targeted. But someone is just going to come up behind you and just punch you in the back of the head. On the way to work. So on the way to work today, you could just absolutely die for no reason at all. And by the way, this guy had already been in jail or whatever, 6 times. He was deemed unfit to be in court. And they just kept letting him go. And there is no consequences to the people that just kept letting this guy out at all. And it's no different than this other guy that was a level 3 offender of the bad kind. Failed to register and was out doing it again and got caught again. They don't know how many victims there are. This is a level 3. This guy's remains should have been spread across a field for fertilizer. Okay, but he was out, didn't register, no consequences. And so, yeah, Orange Man's trying to bring asylums back. Supposedly it happened, I don't know. I know New York and several other main cities will probably act like they hate it, but in actuality, there's probably going to be a massive roundup of homeless that are just completely out of their minds. Will this lead to gals being safer? I think it could, if it's done right. But you're talking about you'd need massive asylums. To get everybody off fentanyl. But most of them don't want to be off fentanyl. Anyway, I digress. CDK, thank you. Matt finally swung by my channel and said hi. That was pretty cool. He says, awesome video. I'm not into prepping, but this opened my eyes. I've heard about it here and there and never really dove into it. I appreciate you breaking down your books and sharing some solid options. I definitely learned a lot from the video. That was my prepper books video. I'm glad somebody liked my prepper books video. That I was actually kind of a pain to put together. And I still didn't quite get all the books there that I wanted to get. I don't think I'm going to do a part 2 because that wasn't really well received. And I think that's part of the problem. Like the books just aren't books just aren't sexy, you know. People want cool stuff. They want knives and guns and bushcraft and cleaning animals and stuff, but they don't want to hear that like their preconceived notions aren't going to work. You can't just keep a giant medical book on hand. And see, people want to feel good. Books make them feel good. You know, a book about cleaning animals makes them feel good. Going out and actually cleaning an animal is not that fun. It's actually kind of scary. For reasons we'll talk about someday. Because there's also psychos out in the woods. Anyway. Love and Life says the laundry detergent talk was funny. So I asked when I talked to Love and Life, I said, you don't actually put your detergent in your freezer, do you? And they said no. I said, heck no. That was pretty funny. Pearsy Poo says, sorry for her terrible language. I thought episode 100 was probably one of the funniest episodes. Me and Pears really riff off each other and have just tons of fun. So I think it was hilarious. Sheets says, this is where spaying and neutering comes to bite us. You need to adopt 300 cats. No, I don't. And I'm gonna just keep saying this because I keep getting tired of hearing it. You need cats, you need cats, you need cats. I think cats are like the last line of defense. When you live on a busy road with coyotes, your cats are going to get massacred. You're going to have dead cats every day and every night. You're going to hear the coyotes outside mangling your cats. Okay? The psychological impact of that turns you into a fucking zombie. I had to go to work the other day, and there were two dead cats within a couple feet of each other. I don't even know how that happens. They were two beautiful adult kitty cats, both dead within a couple feet of each other. That fucks you up. That is not worth not figuring out much better ways of dealing with your pest problems. You're just sacrificing potentially hundreds of living things because you won't figure out 300 cats. That's going to be 299 dead cats and one cat that somehow figures out how to survive. Well, you know, I had a friend say, well, you know, you got to realize, you know, cats are like a living, or, you know, they're a working, cats are like a working animal. Sure, if you can provide them a workable shelter, you know, barn cats work because they have a barn. Field cats end up dead. 99, I don't know. I don't even want to ask Grog. I'm sure it's like 99% though. Because sooner or later, they decide that they want to be frisky. They want to stay out at night. or they want to try to cross the road, and cats are just absolute morons when it comes to crossing the road. I was driving down the road the other day, and this big, cute floofykins cat wanted to cross in front of my car, so I slowed down, and then it kind of waited so it could pass in between my car and the truck behind me. And it was like, cat, can't you just wait for both of us? This is how cat logic works. Can't you just wait for both of us? And I think the truck behind me saw it and slowed down too, so Floofykins got to the other side. But like, you're just sacrificing your animals to death over and over and over again. And yeah, it's a shit world out there. There's a big tuft of feathers where some bird used to be. I think a hawk got it. Just no bird at all. No beak, no feet, just feathers. The world is a shitty place. And my whole reason of getting into this is people were saying that they were going to eat my cats. It's like, I can't imagine what animals go through just before they die. I hope it's not pain, but I'm sure it is some kind of fear mixed with anxiety, especially if that movie Powder, if any of you have seen that, is anything to go by. And dying, and I hope I don't get eaten alive. Okay? Animals are supposed to pass quietly and peacefully, surrounded by people they love. They're not supposed to pass by getting ripped to shreds by wild dogs. Okay? As they're still alive. I know that's grim, dark bullshit, but that's reality. That's the reality of leaving your cats outside. Okay? That's it. And you can be as cold and hard and calloused as you want, but really you've just devolved into a sociopath. Okay? There's other ways. Which is why, as far as I'm concerned, like, the coyote population could be dramatically reduced, and everything would at least be like moderately better. Because the coyotes don't do anything about the deer at all. There's deer everywhere. The coyotes don't do anything about the mice and voles. There's mice and voles everywhere. As far as I can tell, the coyotes don't add anything to this ecosystem at all besides keeping me up at night, terrorizing other people's dogs, trying to either lure the dogs out or trying to eat everybody's chickens or eating everybody's cats. They're eating the cats. Eat the cats. They eat the cats. They eat the dogs. They eat the ducks. They leave the cows alone. They stay way away from the horse because I think the horse will actively try to kill them if it could. The horse just despises those things. The horse has no fear of dogs. Anyway, the horse, if the neighbor's black lab gets in the horse, they'll chase each other just for fun. But that horse has no fear of dogs at all. It would probably kill half of the coyotes before the other half realized that it was a dumb idea. So the coyotes just stay away from it. Like, you don't get it. I know that was grim. I probably should have put a warning there, but I'm sick and tired of people saying just throw cats at the problem. That's the same reason that people like leave their dogs out, and all of a sudden, oh, where did my dogs go? Well, either someone took them or they ran away. That's the other thing. People steal dogs all the time. People will come right up to your property and steal your dogs. Like, leaving, having a dog is not a one get a bigger dog. No, it is not a one size fits all problem. Most dogs are shit at doing things without the pack leader there. Everyone says German Shepherds are amazing dogs. Dude, you leave German Shepherds alone and they'll pick the lock and open the fence and hop in the car and drive away, and you find the German Shepherd 5 miles down a creek somewhere building little German Shepherd communities. Like, dogs have to be extremely well trained, and they have to have somebody to key off of. You can't just leave them outside. They get restless and they start doing things they're not supposed to do, and all of a sudden they've dug up dead things in your yard you didn't even know were there. Anyway, I think dogs are great. I think cats are great. I think there's just a very narrow set of responsibilities, and I think cats are better for inner perimeter. Dogs are better for outer perimeter, but you still have to have an amazing fence, and you have to be out there with them, or they'll get into trouble. They always do. Or people will start antagonizing them, or they'll leave and antagonize other people. It's very tough. There's still a tiny portion of them that are wild animals. Or as this one YouTuber was talking about, you buy them from these shitty breeders, and you don't know what their dispositions are going to be. You don't know if they've been just breeding two of the shittiest, nastiest tempered dogs because that's all they could get their hands on, and they've been breeding out the bloodline so bad. Like, you don't know what you're getting with these fly-by-night puppy mills. It's just disgusting. Puppy mills are disgusting. I don't think you have to get your dog from like a legit breeder, but like, especially if your dog's going to be around your kids, you should know that bloodline of dogs hasn't mauled some kid's face off randomly. I got bit by a dog a couple weeks ago. One of those Australian sheepdogs. No, not the Australian Shepherd. I always forget what the hell was that? Oh, Australian cattle dog. I don't know why I always get those two confused. But yeah, I got bit by one of those the other day. Now my ankle's bugging me again, but I think I just sprained it. Which, like, I want an Australian cattle dog. I do, but I also know that they get bored. They need insane amounts of exercise, and they escape. And they bite everything and everyone, because my friend had one, and that thing used to bite me about 5 times every single time I was over. And then if I tried to throw something for it, it wanted to take my hand with it, to go catch the thing. So anyway, dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Rural says, good morning, nice to meet you, pairs, thanks for excellent listening. Thank you, Rural, I'm glad you like these. Sorry if I swear a lot. Dark stuff. I should have done a warning before I got into all the dark animal stuff. A lot of people can't handle the dark animal stuff, but the other half are just like, just sentence all of your animals to death. Is there a middle ground here? Mad Chad says he's on the replay train. Thanks. Hope you're enjoying it. CDK says books. Barrio likes the books. Someone named Trish was talking about the vole holes and said something about the spotted lanternfly. I looked that up, and I think what the Trish person's trying to say is they're talking about how dangerous invasive species are, and I think not endangered species, gosh darn it, invasive. how dangerous invasive species are. I think invasive species are going to be like the new bioweapon, like the new 5th gen warfare. China's already tried to sneak different like agriculture viruses in a few times. They can sneak in bugs and beetles and shit that wipe out our trees. They can sneak in things that wipe out our cows. If we don't have like absolutely ironclad border protection and trying to catch all these viruses and bugs and shit, like the US could just be wiped out from like just sheer pestilence. Like you could just lose all your cows. You can, lose all your chickens, lose all your pigs if you believe in that stuff. I think lose all your deer because there's like deer viruses too. I think that is why we need to get away from big ag, and everybody just needs biodiversity and animal, and dog and cat diversity. Like we survive as a society because of we diversify. We have biodiversity, animal diversity, genetic diversity. As long as everything's compatible, as long as you don't bring in one tree that's going to wipe out another tree, or bring in one fish that wipes out the rest of the fish. That's why invasive species are so dangerous, because that's not diversity. It'll just wipe everything out. So I'm sure there's a lesson there somewhere. Cucumber Farmer says, good video on the books. Thank you. Rural says, Rural likes scenarios. We'll do some scenarios sometime. Ollie says, never give up. There's always a solution. Talking about the voles and stuff. And yeah, so what I've done is I fill the holes with dirt, or I fill the holes with gravel, but I try to do it with dirt. So at least the roots have, nutrients still. And then I fill them with gravel, and I keep filling the holes with gravel over and over and over and over and over. And on the ones I'm actively working on, as of yesterday, what I'll call my third treatment of gravel, there's only one hole left. These voles do not like digging through jagged shards of gravel. Probably because it's not fun. But I think also because all that stuff kind of does is just kind of shuffle around and then go back to exactly where it was. If you've ever tried to dig a hole through gravel, it just kind of collapses in on itself. So apparently, as long as I only put a couple inches of gravel, it's not going to hurt. Apparently, you just don't use white gravel, but I rinse all the dust off this gravel, and it ends up being kind of a silvery gray. So every couple of days, I go out there with another bucket of gravel and fill in all the holes. And there was only, out of 2 elderberries and 4 blueberries, I only found 1 vole hole after my third treatment. And I watered around all of them, and no voles or mice ran away. So I think it's working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a couple alone for them to have their homes, and keep working on the clover patches. But the clover patches, I'll say, are really a struggle. We got some of the clover patches started, and some of the clover patches do not want to start. So there's a whole deal there. Rural says, this reminds me of a story where they use the cats to solve the mouse problem and the dogs to solve the cat problem, and it just continues. Maybe cone the trees. Coning the trees is part of it, but they tunnel underneath them as well. They do both. The coning stops the mice from eating the bark, but it doesn't stop the voles from digging down, and the mice will live in the vole holes. So it's a whole deal. You have to do all of it. But I think you don't want to put weed barrier and gravel on it too soon, because if you've ever watered a tree over and over again, you know, it takes about three iterations before the dirt settles. Once the dirt settles, then you put the weed barrier down. Then you lightly put the gravel down so it doesn't crack the roots off. You're really creating, you're trying to create a very, very stable and safe cupcake. You know, if you've ever made cupcakes, you know, they gotta be perfect or there's all kinds of problems. And also, yeah, the cat to solve the mouse and the dog to solve the cat. Or you just end up with a Russia thing where everyone starves and they eat all the cats, and then you don't have any cats left. Or someone passes a law saying that cats are invasive species, and even though you got walruses and harbor seals and shit going around that nobody will deal with. Barrio says to keep going. Jimmy says it's not recession, it's depopulation. Yeah, it's not recession, it's replacement. Like, we're being literally pushed out of our own areas. I was born here. And everyone says just leave. They want to bring manufacturing back to America, but it's going to be robots. Someone posted a picture of a machine shop and they're like, it's literally this easy to bring machining back to America. Like, A, that's tens of thousands of dollars in equipment, even though it's really old. B, you can't scale that. There isn't going to be anybody left that knows how to repair it. And everything's going to be done with robots in dark rooms. You're not going to be able to drive taxis. You're not going to be able to drive Ubers. Those are all going to be robotaxis. DoorDash isn't going to exist. It's going to be robots. Robots are going to be making food. Robots are going to be breaking down metal. Robots are going to be unloading ships. USPS, UPS, and FedEx are going to be robots delivering packages. Like, you need to take a day off of work and just try to figure out what you're going to do when you're unemployed. And I think, and rural, I'm sorry about the bunnies. It turned out the bunny was not the problem. It was mice. The bunny gets very, very, very excited. And I thought it was eating the tomatoes. It was not eating the tomatoes. It was not eating the tomato plants. It was running around in the tomatoes and breaking the tomato plants. And so I kept pruning the tomato plants so the bunny could play in the tomatoes. And the bunny's dirt patch that it liked to play in is now the clover patch. So I'm sorry for blaming the bunny, okay? I apologize. See, I can admit when I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong a lot. So now that I'm caught up with the chat, I want to say, in terms of AI being wrong and AI being years away, so I'm working on the project. I said I got the first one right. The second step, it got part numbers wrong. Very wrong. The third step, it got the amount of bolts that I needed wrong. Third step. The fourth step, it got a battery disconnect. The battery disconnect wrong. So in order to have an AI build something, you would have to give it not only the perfect instructions, but you'd have to sit there and iteratively test with it over and over and over to make sure it even gave you the right instructions, to make sure it even repeated back to you the right instructions. Because like Birio said, let's say you're having an AI build fighter planes. You could ask the AI, do you understand? It'll say yes. You could have it repeated back to you. If you don't have the documentation next to you, it could just completely be lying out its ass to you, and it will. And it'll tell you that it double checked it and it's lying. That's why I made that whole song, The AI Lies. Like, it does. It lies out its ass. And it'll tell you that it is 100% positive. And I do this as a check every time. I always ask it, are you 100% positive? Oh yeah, I'm 100% positive. I ask it to double check. Oh, I double checked. And then I prove it wrong. Oh, you're absolutely right. And I have the receipts. I have the screenshots to prove it. And I'm saving it all in like one thread now over the course of weeks in case I ever decide to share it with everybody, turn it into a PDF or something. Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm so sorry. And then it immediately makes the mistake again and immediately makes the mistake again. Like this secret project that I'm working on has a battery disconnect. And instead of it telling me that it has a battery disconnect and telling me where the battery disconnect is, it told me to go disconnect the negative and disconnect the positive. That's normal battery safety. But this thing has a battery disconnect that you just go click the tabs and pop it out. So this is the kind of shit where like, okay, so you're having it build the new, you're having it build 1 million F-35s, or you're having it build a bunch of drones, or you're in the military and you're in the repair depot, and you're asking the AI how to rebuild your F-35 because it did the ejection seat and launched the pilot out halfway through the mission because it had a brain fart or something, or if there's even pilots at that point. And the jet just returned and there's no pilot. And you're like, where's the pilot, you damn jet? I don't know. What pilot? And then it starts lying to you again. Anyway, how are you going to repair the F-35? Or the F-45 or whatever we're at by then? Like, how is the mechanic? Oh, and you think, oh, an AI will repair the jet or the drone. Like, the AI could just like pull up random fucking shit and then decide whether or not it's going to follow it or not. And maybe it gets the right or the wrong part. And then all of a sudden, like Birio said, all of a sudden it's built a bunch of mutant robots. Like, everyone's like scared about Skynet. I think as it stands now, Skynet's going to be like a bunch of mutated robots that barely function and can't be repaired. And I make fun of it. And I know like this is always how it is at the beginning. Things kind of like fudge up a little bit, and then all of a sudden there's going to be some breakthrough and the damn thing is all of a sudden going to be perfect. But there hasn't been that leap hasn't happened yet. And people keep saying, oh, well, the AIs they have are so much better. I don't think so. I don't think they are. I think they want everybody to think that they are. But unless you have a closed LLM and have it be able to reproduce that LLM back to you 100%, it's going to be dog shit. It's going to just order the wrong parts, diagnose something wrong, repair it wrong, say it's fine, and just know everyone's gonna lose. In like a war scenario, then the robots are gonna go collect the other side's parts and go try to make those parts into its parts and completely, misconstrue the part numbers, and all of a sudden you're gonna have a half tank, half jet flippy flopping around the field. I mean, that's what the next dystopian war movie should be. Like, they always show these dystopian future war movies where the AI has made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like perfect massive carriers for a war that's been over for 1,000 years, as it just keeps mining asteroids and building more ships and sending more ships out. As it stands now, that's not what the future is going to look like. There's going to be a carrier with like a crane pointing out the bottom and wheels, even though it can hover, and rocket launchers that point the wrong direction, and Gatling guns on the inside of the ship that can't fire anywhere. And when somebody asks, why did you do that? It's going to be like, that's the schematic. And it's like, no, it's not. You just fucking made that up. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Oh, oops, you're totally right. And or it turns into mecha little mustache man. Do I think they'll fix that? Maybe. That you can fix that on closed LLMs. But like on the open LLMs, like, its truth is so foobar. And I think it's going so fast that it's not. Once it's made up its mind that a part number is a part number, dissuading it is very hard. You can't just say, no, you're wrong, stop it. Until you prove it wrong, which is why logic and critical thinking are still going to be so stinking important in the future. Until you can sit there and prove the AI wrong, and then it just apologizes, there's no consequences. Like, how many robo-taxis are just going to straight up murder people? And then you're like, robo-taxi, you shouldn't have driven through those people. Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm so sorry. I'll get it better next time. And it's like, no, you won't. Because there's no closed loop system. You don't. Grok, the little Grok instance that you talk to isn't going back to the hive mind. Like, I used to think that maybe slowly but surely, if enough quote unquote good people worked on these AIs in their LLMs, that we would somehow be able to shape the future of this thing. Even if a little bit, like, if it read my books and learned off my books, maybe that would change the course a little bit. But I'm starting to think now deliberately they actually don't. I don't think they want us training these, not because we'll turn them into mecha little mustache man, but because they want to be the ones in charge of the LLMs, the learning models, the truth. This is what I was telling Vision about the other day. They're going to let us use this right up until they get the breakthrough that they need, and then they're going to shut it off for us. That's why they won't let us make Hollywood movies. That's why they only let us have 6 to 8 seconds of those little AI movie things. Because they know the second they open that floodgate, we would just replace Hollywood. And I get, again, I know I say this a lot, I get really sick and tired of people, oh, this is going to replace movies. Good. It should. Hollywood is a cesspool. The second this replaces Hollywood, the second children are just exponentially safer. It's going to unemploy a lot of people, but let's not pretend those people aren't already using AI anyway. I want my next favorite movie done as much as the next person. And I want to talk about movies a little bit. Even in the MCU, which is a race to the bottom in terms of how they treat VFX artists, we will be in a world soon where the VFX artists are just going to be able to be done by some kid running it through, if he has enough video cards, talking about video cards again. He'll just be able to make the next, or he or she will be able to just make the next MCU movie with their video card, which I think is why they want those. They're going to want those taken away and kept under lock and key, because if you plugged all the MCU movies into an LLM, you could just have an AI write the next one and then just say, okay, now make the movie. And then go to bed and wake up the next morning and the next MCU movie's done. They don't want that. Not because it'll unemploy people, but because it'll take their little cash cow away. And nothing's going to stop people from saying, okay, I really liked Winter Soldier. Black Widow had a lot of promise, but had a couple issues. And I really liked Thunderbolts, but I didn't like this and this and this. So take Winter Soldier, make it not shaky. Take Black Widow, fix a couple of the continuity errors, and fix a couple of the special effects, and then make Thunderbolts with, Taskmaster being the guy Taskmaster instead of the girl Taskmaster, and go back to Black Widow and make girl Taskmaster guy Taskmaster. For example, let's just say nothing stops them. Nothing stops somebody from just making fan versions of the films really, 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 really fast. You don't like how a movie ended? Throw it into the LLM and change the ending and resell it. Or give it away for free, and then all of a sudden you become more popular. Like, you destroy the canon. Like, that was what Mickey Mouse didn't like about Star Wars. It didn't have, when it bought it all from George Lucas, Mickey Mouse didn't have control over the canon anymore. And it went out there and tried to wipe it all out, and it rewrote 7, 8, and 9, even though those books had been done for 20 or 30 years. Right? Like, it stopped the Clone Wars dead in its tracks and tried to do Rebels and tried to rewrite the Clone Wars and tried to rewrite all the Mandalorian stuff and tried to rewrite all the Beskar stuff, and the Wars on Mandalore, tried to rewrite Order 66 multiple times, and that was like a massive upheaval. You're taking 30 or 40 years of content and telling people it didn't happen. Well, a lot of people wanted it all to happen that way. It's the same thing with video game movies. People want Halo to be a certain way, I don't give a shit about Halo, but a lot of other people do. The Mario Brothers movie could have used a lot of work. So with these you might think I'm going off on a crazy tangent here, but my point is with powerful enough video cards and powerful enough LLMs, nothing stops people from just your average. You could have a kid. Maybe your kid's 13 or 14 and doesn't have anything to do over the summer, and it was his or her birthday and you bought them a new computer. Nothing stops them from just remaking all the Disney movies. And you might think that that's a travesty, but they might go click a button and make Beauty and the Beast live action, but 100% accurate to the animated version. Because an LLM will do that. I mean, it'll probably hiccup and there'll be balls on somebody's forehead or something for a while, but That's not too far off from what Disney threw in their animations anyway sometimes. So, you know, you don't like the live action Lion King? You just click a button and all of a sudden the animated Lion King is now 1-to-1 exactly recreated in live action with an AI, and all of a sudden your daughter or son has got a new YouTube channel where they just sit there recreating Disney movies, or making a Legend of Zelda movie, or making a Metroid movie. Nothing will stop them from doing this. And you know what's going to happen? Hollywood is going to lose its mind because it won't have control over creation anymore. Disney. Fuck you, Disney. And now YouTube is going to have a really hard time because it's going to be like, well, wait, we need someone to create content for us. And YouTube has been trying to clamp down on just bullshit AI slop, topical, generic content that is just like, what did I just listen to? That was just the most generic, topical nonsense I've ever heard. From what I understand, they've cut down on a lot of that. I don't know what's going to happen to fake AI movie trailers, you know, in Panavision or whatever. Like, I think a lot of that stuff is fun. I think that could be the future of entertainment once it gets a little bit better. I think you should be able to make your own movie. I don't think movies should employ hundreds of people. Just like you can create a song with a push of a button, now you're going to be able to create movies with a push of a button, and I really don't give a shit if a ton of those people are unemployed. I think they're culpable in massive predatory practices, and I don't think you need tons of writers, and I don't think comedians should have tons of writers, and I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I don't think that kids should be preyed upon in Hollywood, and I don't think that stunt coordinators should just be injured and cast aside and say, well, that's your job to get hurt, and then just cast them aside and their whole life is ruined. I know someone that happened to. He was very, 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 very athletic and very charismatic, and got hurt as a stunt person very early on, and you don't have, what are you supposed to do after that? Well, you know, you can still, you know, in a modern world, you could still have somebody, you know, do the mocap safely and then just train the AI off it, and people could just be mocap in a safe environment. You don't have to get hurt. You shouldn't be hurting or maiming people to make your movies. For what? Everyone shits on the movie anyway, or it's shaky cam. The world is changing, and while we're distracted by all of these things, we're being replaced by illegals and H-1Bs, and Intel's doubling down on its layoffs, and the H-1Bs keep going up and up and up and up and up. And the Fed is buying a $3 billion building, and nobody knows why. And our interest rates are still stinking high, and we're never going to get the EpiPen list, and Gil Dog is gonna walk, and they're painting Gil Dog to actually look like the victim in all this, and they're completely rewriting EpiPen's entire story, saying that it was just him, and that he was a pervo, and that it was just him alone that did all the bad things. Even though everyone knows, you know, like P. Diddy and I'm forgetting all their names all of a sudden. R. Kelly and all those people, allegedly, They always involve hundreds and hundreds of people. The Playboy Mansion. Take your pick. This is one of the biggest cover-ups of all time, and Gilly is the last piece of the puzzle. They got rid of the gal, I forgot her name, the gal that was in that infamous picture with Gilly and Prince Andrew. Oh, I screwed that up. Prince. Anyway, whatever Prince, what's his name? That dude had better be watching his ass, because they're gonna clean house. And like Marv said, like, people have been talking about this for years. Gilly was gonna just try to plea out of the whole thing. Not plea, negotiate her way out of the whole thing. Like, they want to be able to control the narrative. They want to be able to control entertainment. They want to be able to control music. They want to control the art on the cover of your book. Pretty soon they're gonna want to control the content in your books. They're gonna want to control everything. They're gonna want to control the hardware in your phone, the hardware in your computer. It's all gonna be replaced, and that'll be it. And yeah, I don't know. They're gonna want to control the power grid. They're gonna want to control all of it, and pretty soon, they won't even need us to work anymore, because it'll be computers doing all the work, and then we'll just be irrelevant. We'll have our common digital currency, and we're just gonna be farmed. And they won't want us to own land or houses or anything. And so y'all need to take a day off and sit there and actually think about what the future looks like, because you're being distracted. Even the whole Gilly thing and EpiPen thing and the island thing, that is a distraction. The alien space potato thing is a distraction. And they're about ready to move the needle in a big way. There's going to be, once this leap in technology happens, they get the new power plants built here in a couple years. I thought they were going to be in the Pacific Northwest. I guess they moved a lot of them to Ohio. And once they get those new microgrids set up, the new cards will be out. The LLMs will be done. We've got about 2 more years before things, before we're just to the point of there won't be time to pivot anymore. There's still time, is what I'm saying, but you have to take time to actually think about it and plan and prepare and think this through. Think about crypto. Think about the year that your vehicle is. What are you going to need in 2 years? In 2 years, is your vehicle going to be toast? In 2 years, is your computer going to be toast? Is your phone going to be toast? Do you need to get a vehicle from like a couple years ago to kind of to feel better? Because that's what I'm thinking, like some kind of, Toyota Tacoma or Toyota Tacoma, Toyota 4Runner, from like the mid-teens. There's good years and bad years, food, 25-year food, mouse traps. I cannot emphasize enough that you need to be getting quality mouse traps. So Rine, RINNE traps, top tier. Buy directly from their website. This isn't sponsored. But Joe at Rine Traps is awesome. If you've never seen Mousetrap Monday, That's a really good YouTube channel. But Rhine Traps, RINNE traps.com. You need to be getting good quality mouse traps. Okay. Sean Wood's quality YouTube channel. These are the things that you have to be thinking about. You have to be planning and prepping. And if you work for big tech, you'd know that your finances are already like wildly stagnated and have been for a long time. Like, and they're trying to guilt you into not getting side gigs and stuff. But this is when, and I've talked a lot about some of my buddies on the YouTubes. When they do their channels, it's like, I tell them, like, think about your side gigs being your main gigs. And I try to keep getting them to talk to everybody about convos with Matt is one of them. Matt.WRKS. Scrolling through here, there's a couple of them. Some of them, unfortunately, haven't made content in a while. But trying to talk to them about, like, get everybody to think about what happens if my side gig has to be my main gig, and what's my backup side gig. What could my side gig be? How do I pivot to having my side gig be ready? Because you still have a little bit of time to figure all that out. Because the tech layoffs, which are coming, and they're replacing with AI, they're replacing with H-1Bs, that is going to gut the housing market. There's nowhere for them to go. They're going to compete their way down. It's going to be a race to the bottom. And repairing stuff isn't going to be good enough because nobody's going to have any money to repair things. So you got to figure out your currency. You got to figure out your income. You got to start to make a repair list. Doors, decks, pumps and filters and spark plugs and axes and chainsaws and batteries and lawnmower bits and baubles and bird netting. Jars. And don't go crazy, but like at least make the list and go, what am I going to need in 2 years? Because I don't have enough money for batteries. And Marf even said this last night. He's like, well, if I gave you a time and a date, would you figure out how to make it happen? Because that's the only thing we don't have right now is a time and a date. It's going to happen. And so if I gave you a time and a date, what things would you be trying to get? And so if I say 2 years, you're not supposed to put dates on things, but we'll hypothetically, we'll pretend it's 2 years. Wink, wink. What would your top 5 things be? What would your top 5 things be? And how are you going to get there? I think like a Toyota Tacoma, a mid-teens Toyota Tacoma should be on that list. A locked down, like really good riding lawnmower that you can repair if you're on a bigger homestead should be on that list. Lockdown sources of gravel, compost, fertilizer, gravel, dirt, dirt is already at a premium. Dirt is going to be an even more of a premium. People keep teasing me about that. Dirt's everywhere. I don't know. Half my yard is like clay. I don't know what the hell the deal is. And ash, which I don't even understand how I can dig a couple feet down and there be ash everywhere in some parts of the yard. So start your 2-year plan and figure out how you're going to get there. Get debt free first. And then figure out how you're going to get ahead. Figure out what you have to do. I'm on Social Security. Figure something out. Write down the top 5 things you need for the next 2 years. And then let's all try to figure out how we're going to get there. All right. So just, I guess I'll do the house cleaning stuff at the end. My art book is going to the final, I think what'll be its final proof. I figured out a lot of why the formatting was off. And after about 20 more attempts of just uploading it, uploading, checking it, I actually think I got it this time. And it's looking really way better than it has any right to. So for the 2 people that give a shit about my art book, I don't think it's a vanity project. I think it is fulfilling one of the promises that I did not get to do on my last project. So I'm doing this to prove to myself that I am seeing this project through further than my last project, and that's something that's important to me. I'm working on teeny tiny 1 sentence here and there updates to Bunker Basics, but I'm going to be spacing those out. It's going to be one, I think, I'm going to try to do an update to it once every 3 months, and hopefully that won't offend anybody, but it's just going to be like a sentence here and there, as I think of teeny tiny little more tidbits, like how to defend, your plants just a little bit better. You know what I mean? How to write about the whole battery thing just a teeny tiny bit better. So nobody's missing out anything. It makes me feel better to write the teeny tiny updates. And someday if Bunker Basics does good, I'll write Bunker Buddies. But we'll see. So those are my 2 main things. I don't know if I'm going to write anymore. I don't know if I'm going to finish Fanny 2. My humor book. We'll see. We'll see this fall. I feel like the garden, I've finally caught up with as good as the garden's going to get. So now it's purely working on my orchard, mine and Pearsy Poo's orchard, beefing this orchard up. We have a bunch more trees to plant, but unfortunately about half of those trees now have to recover from getting eaten by mice. And apparently just brushing your cats and then just shoving their cat hair everywhere outside where you think the mice are, shockingly, seems to work, along with having really good mouse traps. We'll see if that luck continues. But I was brushing Ringo, and I finally put 2 and 2 together. The internet and Grok and people kept telling me cat hair, people hair, and I'm like, I don't know how to get cat hair. And I was brushing the cat, and I had a handful of cat hair, and I'm like, oh, duh, I feel stupid. I wish I had been doing that all along. So if you have a cat that like really sheds, and you have a mouse problem, start brushing that cat more often and just shoving that cat hair in every single orifice that the mice are coming out. See if it works. And so, those are like the little nuggets that I'm going to, that I update in Bunker Basics, just to try to keep the knowledge fresh and in case it helps somebody as I find more readers, or if you feel like grabbing a new copy, then great. And maybe what I'll do is I'll lower the price a couple bucks every time I come out with a new version so it's easier on people. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. So yeah, I feel like I'm almost caught up with what I would call this summer's worth of work. At least as far as the garden, homesteady, gardeny yard part. And then, the next step is going to be to working on the house itself. So, anyway, maybe we'll talk about, the house updates next time. So anyway, thanks. Appreciate y'all. And leave a comment down below of something. Don't just say replay crew. try to say something in here that actually meant something to you. I know I'm not the only one that it's nice of y'all to say that, but like what's a lot nicer is actually like saying something that can help me make the next episode more interesting. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye.